So some positives I found about being a mentor is I feel it's been really excellent for my own practice. I'm an experienced teacher. I did an MPQ last year, but it's still been really insightful to think about things I'm picking out from the trainees' practice and then think about my own lessons. And sometimes there's a little niggling voice in the back of your head where you start thinking, actually, I really need to focus on this also. So it's been really good for my practice and therefore for my students. It's also good for the department because everybody having an impact on that trainee means that it opens up a lot more discussions where we can think about perhaps what we're doing as a department that we could do better, or things that perhaps the trainees learnt at a training day that they've brought back and we've thought, oh, I've never really thought about teaching that before. So the subject-specific training days that your trainee will go on can mean that the content they bring back into the school is actually really helpful for existing teachers, which is good. Some of the positives, there are some workload positives in that the trainee will start to take your lessons for you and some of your marking burden. Ideally, by the end of the academic year, they need to know what it's like to be a full-time teacher. They need to get an insight into that. So their timetable will not be anywhere near a full-time teacher's timetable, but they do need to get an insight into how it could be to have a class that you need to set work for, mark work for, and keep track of, essentially. So by the end of the academic year, your trainee will end up taking a fair amount of work off your plate by teaching some of those classes for you. So there are quite a lot of positives. The other big one that I found is it's my first time as a mentor this year, and I found that the insight from the e-Qualitas tutor has been incredibly helpful. So as a head of department and as a mentor, having someone who's experienced in being in leadership positions, but is also external to this school, and is also a science specialist, is sometimes a really helpful port of call where there's something you're not sure about or something you're feeling a bit worried about and you need a kind ear, I suppose, to ask a question about. And that's been an incredible source of support, really. So that's been really helpful to me. So some of the things I found more challenging about being a mentor have been the time involved. So there are a couple of after-school training sessions that I've done. They've been very informative, actually, so that's been quite helpful. But at the same time, it is time that as teachers we don't always have. It's also been quite challenging at the beginning of the year when you've got a trainee who doesn't really know what they're doing, and yet it's the start of the year, so you're trying to get all those routines in place. You've obviously got a new cohort of students, so managing your own organisation at the start of the year along with trying to help the trainee work out what they're supposed to be doing was quite a lot of work initially, but once their sort of routines were in place, it got much easier after that. So that was an element of challenge which did improve. So if the first week or two is a bit of a difficulty, then just stick with it. Other things that have been a challenge, sometimes, especially when as experienced teachers we are quite short of time, and especially if you have a responsibility of some kind, it can be quite difficult to juggle your mentoring with that. So I found that trying to get feedback to the trainee in sort of a timely manner, they're often very enthusiastic and they want to talk a lot about what's happened and their views about things, and actually trying to just get them to hone in quite quickly on things that were really good and celebrate those, but also to sort of think about some of the areas of challenge can be a bit more difficult. And it's quite frustrating for your trainee as well because they've got all these things that they're learning and it's quite overwhelming, and you're sort of trying to have a helpful conversation with them, but you're also sitting there with one eye on the clock, which is not ideal, but we know we're just restricted by the circumstances that we're working under.